Okay, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Just pause for a second and inhale.
Okay.
Can you feel that?
Oh, yeah.
It is January 2026, and the air in the sports world, specifically if you have been tracking the trajectory of the WNBA, is absolutely electric. Feels heavy, doesn't it?
Heavy is exactly the right word. It's that charged atmosphere where you know something significant is about to happen.
Like the pressure dropping right before a storm.
It feels like the calm before a very specific, very loud storm.
Exactly. And today, we are diving straight into the eye of that storm. We are focusing squarely on the Indiana Fever. We have a massive stack of sources to get through, everything from the freshly released 2026 schedule, which is a beast, to some incredibly crucial, nuanced updates on the health of the one and only Caitlin Clark.
And honestly, the timing of all this information dropping is a story in itself. It's not just what was released, but when.
That's a great point to start on because we have to set the scene. We're doing this in January 2026, and the backdrop isn't just a sleepy offseason.
Not at all.
It's actually incredibly tense behind the scenes.
Right.
The league and the Players Union, the WNBPA, are right in the thick of negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement.
Right. And for anyone who doesn't follow the business side of sports, a CBA negotiation is usually a time of, extreme precariousness. There's posturing, there's silence, and usually the looming threat of a lockout or a strike. So typically in this environment, the league goes quiet, they hold their cards close.
But instead, boom, they drop the schedule.
A full schedule.
Not just a tentative, maybe we'll play schedule, but a finalized, aggressive, expanded one.
It's a signal. That's the key insight here. Releasing the schedule is the league planting a flag in the ground and saying, we are confident, we are moving forward.
Right.
Despite the background noise of the labor talks, they are locking in a May tip-off. It just shifts the entire conversation from the boardroom back to the hardwood.
And that is our mission today. We're going to unpack this schedule because looking at the sources, it is an absolute gauntlet. But before we look at who the Fevers are playing, we have to address the single biggest variable, the elephant in the room. We need to talk about the Clark Watch.
The health status. It is the pivot point for the entire Eastern Conference, really. If she is healthy, the Fevers are contenders. If she's not, it's a totally different conversation.
Let's rewind a bit to set the context, because 2025 feels like a fever dream, pun intended, that most fans just want to wake up from. Frustrating is the word the sources use repeatedly.
It was a narrative interruption. That's how I look at it. You had this incredible rookie year in 2024, the records, the playoff berth. Everyone was ready for the sophomore leap.
The MVP conversation late.
Exactly. And then the injury bug bites.
A right groin injury.
No.
And for a guard who relies on that lateral quickness, on creating that tiny bit of separation, that is a career-altering kind of nagging injury if it's not handled right. It didn't just slow her down, it shut her down completely.
And I think because it ended so abruptly, people might have forgotten just how dominant she was actually playing before she got hurt. The sources included a statistical breakdown that is honestly kind of shocking.
Yeah, let's look at the numbers, because good doesn't quite cover it.
So she only played in 13 games in 2025. The sample size is small, yes, but in those 13 games, she was averaging 16.5 points, 5.0 rebounds, and a massive 8.8 assists.
8.8 assists.
Yeah.
That is. And you're seeing the game in slow motion. That is elite facilitation.
It's historic facilitation. But here is the kicker, and maybe the red flag that led to the injury. She was playing over 31 minutes a night.
That's a heavy workload.
It's tremendous for a player who is the focal point of every single defensive scheme.
Yeah.
Every night, the other team is trying to trap her, bump her, run her off the line.
So you have high usage, high minutes, and then the body breaks down. That's what happened to the Fever last year. But moving to the present 2026, the sources are flashing a big, bright green light.
They are. And we need to be skeptical of off-season optimization reports usually. Everyone is always in the best shape of their life in January.
Right.
But this feels different. The reports suggest a full recovery from that groin issue.
Full recovery is often PR speak, but there is hard evidence here that actually convinced me.
The Team USA camp.
That's the one.
Precisely. The sources confirm she participated in the Team USA training camp back in December. Now, context is key here. You don't just show up to a USA basketball camp to do light shooting drills.
No, that is the most competitive environment in women's basketball, maybe in all of sports.
Right. If you are at 80%, you get exposed immediately. You have the best defenders in the world on you. If the medical staff cleared her for that environment, That is the gold standard of fitness indicators.
It tells us the lateral movement is back, the explosiveness is back.
And the durability, that's the big one.
That is the "I'm back" statement without saying a word. But she is saying a few words, or at least her social media is. I love this detail from the sources. We have a vibe check on Clark from just this month.
This is the stuff that tells you about the mental recovery. Physical is one thing, trusting your body again is another.
So there's footage of her on the Pacers practice court. She's not just shooting free throws. She is launching these deep passes, like full court dime.
Oh, I saw that.
And the captions, "Someone sign me."
I think the Fever have that covered, but notice the tone.
It's playful. Another one says, "This is what I'm really dealing with. It's loose. It's fun."
That's significant. When a player is worried about a re-injury, or if they are still rehabbing, they're guarded, they're quiet. This playfulness suggests confidence. It suggests she isn't thinking about the groin injury anymore.
And when Caitlin Clark is having fun?
The rest of the league is usually in trouble.
Okay, so we have a healthy Clark. We have a confident league. Now let's zoom out. Because 2026 isn't just another year for the WNBA. The sources keep mentioning this milestone, the Big 3-0.
The 30th season. I mean, if you think about where this league started in 1997, battling for existence to where it is now, it's historic. But 2026 isn't just about looking back. This season represents a massive, tangible expansion.
The map has literally changed. I was looking at the Fever schedule. I'm seeing names that, well, they just weren't there a couple of years ago.
This is the expansion explosion we've been waiting for. The league has finally pulled the trigger, and it has huge implications for travel.
Let's list them off, because seeing them on the schedule makes it real. First, we have the Toronto Tempo.
First meeting June 16th, and that's now an international trip. That involves customs, passports. It adds a layer of friction to the travel schedule that didn't exist before.
Then we have the return of a classic, the Portland Fire.
A historic WNBA market coming back. The Fever play them as early as May 20, and you know Portland has one of the best fan bases in sports. That environment will be hostile.
And then, the one everyone is talking about, the Golden State Valkyries.
May 22, that Bay Area energy.
It is wild to see these names. Toronto Tempo, Portland Fire, Golden State Valkyries. It feels like a new era. But it's not just new logos. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert is quoted calling this momentum.
But what does this mean for the players' legs? Because the league has also expanded to 44 games.
That is the trade-off. 44 games is a grind, a significant increase. You add in the travel to Toronto, the extended West Coast trips.
Yeah.
The logistics of this season are going to be a massive test of depth.
It's not just about talent anymore. It's about durability. It's about who has the freshest legs in September.
Exactly. And you have a longer season, harder travel, and potentially a slightly thinner bench across the league because of the expansion drafts.
Which brings us back to the Fever specifically. Because with 44 games, you have to know when to manage energy. And there are some dates on this schedule that just scream, must watch.
Oh yeah, the schedule makers knew what they were doing. They are banking on storylines right out of the gate.
Okay, let's start at the very beginning. May 9, opening night.
The Fevers are at home. Gamebridge Fieldhouse. The sources say the organization wants that building to be absolutely rocking.
And the opponent, the Dallas Wings. But really, it's the player matchup.
Oh yeah.
Caitlin Clark versus Paige Bueckers.
There it is. The narrative arc that goes back to their college days. Iowa versus UConn. The two guards who defined a generation of college hoops.
It feels like they are destined to battle forever, doesn't it? Opening the season with that matchup, that is putting your best foot forward.
It's a fascinating contrast. Clark plays with that chaotic, high-pace energy. Bueckers is more surgical, more mid-range. Seeing them clash on opening night, it's just smart business. Everyone is going to tune in.
It sets the tone for the entire league. And then, just a month later, we get another chapter of a different rivalry, June 11th,
The Commissioner's Cup game.
against the Chicago Sky, which means
Clark versus Angel Reese.
it never gets old. But wait, explain the Commissioner's Cup context. Why does that matter more?
So the Commissioner's Cup is the in-season tournament. There is a prize pool. There's extra money on the line for the players. And for a lot of them, that bonus money is significant.
So the intensity is naturally higher.
Exactly. It's not just a random Tuesday in June. It has stakes. So you layer the Clark-Reese rivalry, which is always physical, always chippy on top of a tournament game where money is on the table. That June 11 date is going to be a war. Expect technicals.
Speaking of battles, we had to look at the measuring stick games. You can't be the best unless you beat the best.
And right now, the standard is still the Las Vegas Aces.
The defending champs.
The dynasty.
The Fever see them 3 times this year, and the first one is a road trip, July 5 in Las Vegas.
That is a tough way to spend your holiday weekend. It's the ultimate test. Vegas plays with such pace and power. For a Fever team trying to reestablish its identity with a returning Clark going into Vegas in July, that will tell us exactly where they stand in the hierarchy.
And looking at the flow of the schedule, I'm seeing a lot of Golden State, Portland, Seattle in late May. That looks like a heavy West Coast swing early on.
It is. Look at the dates. May 20, May 22, May 28. They're bouncing between Portland and Golden State. That is a lot of time zones to cross in the first month.
And that circles back to the injury concern, doesn't it?
It does. Early season, you're still getting your game legs. To throw a massive travel schedule at a player returning from a groin strain, the training staff's going to have to be incredibly diligent.
If they come out of May with a winning record, that would be a massive win.
A huge win.
And then looking all the way to the end, the grind concludes on September 24.
On the road against the Minnesota Lynx.
And the playoffs start just 3 days later.
That is tight. Practically no rest. You finish in Minnesota, which is a tough place to play, and then you have 72 hours to prep for a playoff series.
That puts a premium on avoiding the play-in mess, right? You want to be locked in.
Absolutely. And the sources remind us, the Fever have reached the postseason in consecutive seasons, 2024 and 2025. The goal isn't just to make it anymore.
No, with a healthy Clark, the goalpost moves.
The expectation is to advance. They're adding Clark back into a lineup that learned how to survive without her. Theoretically, that should make them deeper and more resilient.
That's a great point. The other players had to step up last year. Now they slot back into more natural roles.
Right, the so-called Ewing theory effect. The team gets better because the role players were forced to develop.
So let's look at this new landscape again. Toronto Tempo, Portland Fire, Golden State Valkyries. We have these new teams. And I'm seeing a fascinating stretch in mid-June. Look at this. June 16 against Toronto, then June 18 and 20, back-to-back against the Atlanta Dream.
That is what coaches call a trap week.
Why is that?
Well, think about the psychology. You have the excitement of the first ever game against Toronto. It's historic. It's international. The adrenaline will be high. And then, immediately, you have to fly to play a gritty Atlanta team twice in 3 days.
And Atlanta is known for being physical.
Extremely. They grind you down. So if you were still celebrating the history of the Toronto game, Atlanta will punch you in the mouth. That requires focus.
It's a lot. So what does this all mean for the listener? We've thrown a lot of dates and names at you.
If you strip it all away, here is the core insight. The WNBA is betting big on itself in 2026, releasing this ambitious schedule with 3 new teams and a longer season right in the middle of tense CBA talks. That is a power move.
It is confidence.
It is supreme confidence in the product, and specifically for Indiana, it's a reset button. 2025 was the lost year. 2026 is the redemption tour.
A redemption tour with a packed itinerary. I'm looking at August, playing the Aces, the Sky, and the Liberty all within 10 days.
August 6th through August 11. That is a brutal stretch. Aces, Sky, Liberty. That is a playoff preview right in the middle of the dog days of summer.
That is where the depth we talked about matters. You can't just rely on Clark to play 40 minutes every night in that stretch.
No, and hopefully they learn that lesson from 2025. You mentioned her stats, 31 minutes a night, that's high usage. With the recovery from the groin injury, I'd be watching the rotation closely. Do they manage her minutes early?
Right, maybe keep her to 25 minutes against the expansion teams like Portland or Toronto.
Exactly. Bank some rest so she's fresh for that August gauntlet. It's chess, not checkers. The season is a marathon, especially with 44 games.
That is the strategic layer to watch. It's not just, is she playing? It's, how are they playing her?
Precisely. And that will determine if they are just a playoff team or a real championship contender.
Well, we have covered the injury, the recovery, the new teams, and the killer dates. It sounds like 2026 is shaping up to be one for the history books.
It really is. A healthy Clark, a historic 30th season, and a league that is literally expanding across the continent.
It's a lot to look forward to. But before we go, is there one lingering question you have? One thing that you're still chewing on from all this?
I'll leave you with this thought. We are all excited about the expansion. Toronto, Portland, Golden State. It's new, it's shiny. But with a 44-game grind and all this new travel, I wonder how the old guard teams are going to adapt.
What do you mean by that? Like the Aces and Liberty?
Exactly. Teams like the Aces or the Liberty, they have their routines, they have their dynasties, they're used to a certain rhythm. Now you're throwing in cross-border travel to Canada, multiple trips to the West Coast. Does this dilute the talent pool? Or does the travel fatigue level the playing field?
That's interesting. So the logistics might actually hurt the established teams more than the young, hungry ones who don't know any better?
Possibly. Is 2026 the year we see a massive shakeup in the standings simply because the logistics of the league have changed so drastically? The map has changed? And usually when the map changes, the rulers change too.
The chaos factor of expansion. I love that.
It's going to be the silent storyline of the season.
That is something to chew on as we wait for tip-off in May.
Indeed. It's going to be fascinating.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Fever's future. It's going to be a wild ride, and we'll be watching every pass. Stay curious, everyone.